Picture this. It's 2002. A skinny 16-year-old kid walks into a high school football game in Akron, Ohio. He's already being called the chosen one by Sports Illustrated. College scouts are following him everywhere. His face is on magazine covers. He's got the entire basketball world watching his every move. And then he sees her. Savannah Brinson, a sophomore cheerleader with a bright smile sitting in the stands with her friends. She has absolutely no idea who he is. That moment, that split second when LeBron James first saw the woman who would become his wife, changed everything. Not just for him, but for how we understand love, loyalty, and what it really means to build something real when the entire world is watching. This is their story. And I'm warning you right now, it's going to challenge everything you think you know about celebrity relationships, fame, and what happens when a high school sweetheart becomes the first lady of basketball royalty. Let's set the scene properly. Akron, Ohio, 2002. This isn't some glamorous city. This is Rust Belt America. Factory towns, working-class neighborhoods, the kind of place where high school football games are the biggest thing happening on a Friday night. LeBron James was already famous. At 16 years old, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated with the headline, "The Chosen One." Every college basketball program in America was trying to recruit him. His games were being moved to college arenas because so many people wanted to watch him play. But here's what most people don't know. LeBron was desperately lonely. Think about it. You're a teenager. Your childhood friends are worried you're going to forget them when you make it big. Girls are suddenly interested in you, but you can't tell if they like you or they like LeBron James, future NBA superstar. Adults are constantly in your face trying to manage you, exploit you, or tell you what to do. You can't trust anyone. You can't be normal. You can't just be a kid. And then he went to that football game. Savannah Brinson was sitting in the stands with her friends. She was a sophomore cheerleader at a rival high school. Pretty, popular, but not obsessed with basketball. She went to the game because her friends were going. That's it. LeBron saw her from across the field, and according to everyone who was there that night, he couldn't take his eyes off her. Here's where the story gets interesting. He asked a mutual friend for her phone number. The friend gave it to him. LeBron called her that same night. But Savannah? She had no idea who LeBron James was. "I didn't know anything about him," Savannah said years later in an interview. "I'm not a big basketball person. I was like, who is this guy calling me?" LeBron asked her out. She said no. Let that sink in for a second. The most hyped high school athlete in American history asks a girl out, and she says no, not because she's playing hard to get, not because she's trying to be strategic. She literally just wasn't interested. So LeBron asked again and again. He was persistent, but not in a creepy way. He was genuine. He wanted to get to know her. He wanted to take her to Outback Steakhouse, which, by the way, was his idea of a fancy date, because he didn't have any money yet. After the 5th time he asked, Savannah finally said yes. Here's a detail that's going to matter later. Savannah almost didn't show up to that first date. She was nervous. She didn't know this guy. Her friends were telling her he was going to be famous, that he was special, but she didn't care about any of that. She just wanted to know, is he a good person? They met at Outback Steakhouse. LeBron showed up early. He was wearing his best clothes, which for a broke high school kid from Akron wasn't much, but he was nervous, genuinely nervous. They sat down. They talked, and something happened that LeBron later said he'd never experienced before. She treated him like a regular person. She didn't ask about basketball. She didn't ask about the NBA draft. She didn't ask about money or fame or any of it. She asked about his mom. She asked about what he liked to do when he wasn't playing basketball. She asked about his dreams beyond the court. "She saw me," LeBron said in an interview years later. "Not the player, not the prospect. She saw me." By the end of that dinner, LeBron knew. He knew this was the person he was going to marry. Savannah? She thought he was sweet. She liked him, but she wasn't thinking about forever. She was 16 years old. She was thinking about next weekend. But LeBron, he was all in. Let's fast forward a few months. LeBron and Savannah are officially dating, and here's where their relationship starts to become different from every other high school romance you've ever seen. LeBron's life was chaos. His senior year, NBA scouts were at every single game. The media was following him everywhere. He couldn't go to the mall without being mobbed. His face was on billboards. Shoe companies were already trying to sign him to deals worth millions of dollars. And through all of it, Savannah was his anchor. She didn't care about any of the noise. When they were together, she made him turn off his phone. She made him talk about normal stuff. She made him be LeBron from Akron, not the chosen one. She kept me grounded, LeBron said. When everyone else was telling me I was special, she was telling me to take out the trash. But here's the thing people don't talk about. Savannah was making a choice, a really difficult choice. She was 16 years old, dating the most famous high school athlete in America. Her friends were jealous. People at her school were treating her differently. The media was starting to notice her, and she had to decide, is this worth it? Is HE worth it? Because dating LeBron James meant giving up privacy. It meant dealing with girls who were constantly trying to get his attention. It meant watching him get pulled in a million different directions by people who wanted a piece of him. But she stayed, not because of the potential money, not because of the fame. She stayed because she genuinely loved who he was as a person. And then, in October 2003, everything changed. Savannah got pregnant. She was 17 years old. LeBron was 18. He'd just been drafted first overall by the Cleveland Cavaliers. He'd just signed a $90 million shoe deal with Nike. He was about to start his NBA career. And his high school girlfriend was pregnant. The media went crazy. Sports talk radio hosts were debating whether this was going to ruin his career. People were saying he should have been more careful. Some were even suggesting he should distance himself from Savannah to protect his image. But LeBron? He did something that shocked everyone. He stepped up. "This is my family," he said in an interview at the time. "This is my girl. This is my child, and I'm going to be there for them." He could have run. He could have paid child support and kept Savannah at arm's length to protect his brand. But he didn't. He doubled down on their relationship. On October 6, 2004, their first son was born, LeBron James Jr., who everyone would come to know as Bronny. And here's the part that's going to break your heart. LeBron was terrified. He'd grown up without a father. His dad, Anthony McClelland, had abandoned him and his mother when LeBron was a baby. LeBron had no model for what being a father looked like. He had no template. He had no example to follow. All he knew was this: he wasn't going to be his father. He wasn't going to abandon his child. He wasn't going to let his son grow up the way he did. So at 19 years old, in his rookie NBA season, LeBron James became a father. And Savannah? She became the strength that held everything together. Let's talk about what life was like for Savannah during LeBron's early years in the NBA. She was a young mother with a famous boyfriend. She wasn't married, she didn't have the security of a ring or a legal commitment, and the entire world was watching to see if their relationship would last. The media was brutal. There were constant rumors about LeBron cheating. Every time he was photographed with another woman, even if it was just at a charity event, the tabloids would run stories suggesting he was stepping out on Savannah. And Savannah couldn't respond. She couldn't defend herself publicly. She couldn't correct the record. She had to just sit there and take it while people speculated about her relationship. It was hard. Savannah admitted in a rare interview. "I felt like I was living in a fishbowl. Everything I did was being watched and judged, and I was just trying to be a good mom and a good partner." But here's what makes Savannah extraordinary. She never tried to use LeBron's fame for herself. She could have. She could have done reality shows. She could have leveraged her position to build her own brand. But she didn't. She focused on raising Bronny and supporting LeBron's career. In 2007, they had their second son, Bryce Maximus James. Now Savannah was a mother of two, still not married, still dealing with the constant scrutiny. And people were starting to ask, why hasn't he married her yet? December 31st, 2011, New Year's Eve, Miami Beach. LeBron and Savannah had been together for 9 years. They had 2 children together. They'd been through LeBron's first 7 NBA seasons. They'd survived the decision, his controversial move from Cleveland to Miami that made him one of the most hated athletes in America. And finally, LeBron got down on one knee. He proposed at a New Year's Eve party surrounded by close friends and family. The ring was massive, a pear-shaped diamond that reportedly cost around $300,000. But here's what mattered more than the ring: the timing. LeBron had waited until he was ready, until he knew exactly who he was, until he could stand in front of Savannah and say with complete certainty, I choose you. Forever. She was with me before I had anything, LeBron said at the time. She believed in me when nobody else did. She deserves this moment. The wedding was set for September 14, 2013, in San Diego, California. And it was going to be one of the most expensive, elaborate weddings in sports history. Let me paint you a picture of LeBron and Savannah's wedding, because it wasn't just a wedding, it was a statement. The Grand Del Mar Resort in San Diego, 200 guests. Every single person who mattered in LeBron's life was there. Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, his Miami Heat teammates, his childhood friends from Akron, his business partners, his mother. The dress code was all white. Everyone wore white. The entire venue was decorated in white and gold. There were white roses everywhere, thousands of them. The ceremony took place at sunset overlooking the California coastline. Savannah wore a custom Vera Wang dress that reportedly cost $50,000. It had a full skirt with lace details and a long train. She looked absolutely stunning. LeBron wore a white Tom Ford tuxedo. He was crying before Savannah even walked down the aisle. The ceremony was officiated by a pastor from their hometown church in Akron. The vows were traditional, but when it came time for LeBron to say "I do," he paused. Everyone in attendance said you could feel the emotion in that moment. LeBron looked at Savannah and he said something that wasn't in the script. "You saved my life. I promise to spend the rest of mine making sure you never regret that." There wasn't a dry eye in the place. The reception was even more elaborate. Beyoncé and Jay-Z performed. There was a 12-tier wedding cake. The menu was prepared by a Michelin star chef. The estimated cost of the entire wedding, around $10 million. But here's what makes this story beautiful. The money didn't matter. What mattered was this. After 11 years together, after 2 children, after surviving the pressure of fame and scrutiny and doubt, LeBron James and Savannah Brinson were finally married. She was no longer just his girlfriend. She was his wife, his partner, his equal. And from that moment forward, everything changed. Let's talk about what Savannah became after the wedding, because this is where most people get the story wrong. The media loves to call her LeBron's wife, and yes, that's technically accurate, but it's also wildly reductive. After marrying LeBron, Savannah didn't just settle into the role of basketball wife, she built her own empire. In 2014, she launched the I Promise Makeover, a program that provided prom dresses and tuxedos to high school students in Akron who couldn't afford them. Why? Because she remembered what it was like to be a teenager in Akron worrying about money. In 2016, she partnered with American Signature to launch Home Court by LeBron James, a furniture line. She was involved in every aspect of the design and marketing. In 2018, she became the vice president of the LeBron James Family Foundation and played a crucial role in the opening of the I Promise School in Akron, a public school for at-risk students that provides free tuition, meals, transportation, and even college scholarships. Savannah wasn't just supporting LeBron's career, she was building her own legacy. But here's what makes their partnership so powerful. LeBron never felt threatened by her success. He celebrated it, he promoted it, he stepped back and let her shine. "She's not my plus one," LeBron said in an interview. "I'm her plus one. She's been the architect of this family since day one." In 2018, LeBron signed with the Los Angeles Lakers. It was a massive decision that meant uprooting the entire family from Ohio to California. For most families, this would be exciting. New city, new opportunities, Hollywood glamour. But for the James family, it was complicated. Bronny was 13 years old, about to start high school. Bryce was 11. Their daughter Zuri was 3. They had roots in Ohio. Savannah's entire family was in Ohio. This was home. But LeBron's career came first. It had to. He was 33 years old, in the tail end of his prime, chasing one more championship. The Lakers represented his last chance at building another dynasty. So Savannah did what she'd always done. She sacrificed. She packed up the kids. She sold the houses. She left her family and her support system behind, and she moved to LA. But here's what nobody talks about. It was hard. Savannah struggled with the move. She felt isolated. She missed her friends. She missed her routine. And for the first time in their relationship, cracks started to show. In interviews from that time, you can hear it in her voice. She's supportive. She's positive, but there's a weariness there, a sense of, how much more can I give? LeBron noticed, and he did something that most athletes don't do. He adjusted. He started coming home earlier from practice. He made sure to be present for family dinners. He took the kids to school in the mornings. He made LA feel like home because he knew that if Savannah wasn't happy, nothing else mattered. My wife is my foundation, LeBron said during that first season in LA. If she's not good, I'm not good. And slowly, they adjusted. They found their rhythm again. They built a new community. They made LA work. Because that's what 15+ years together teaches you. You don't run when things get hard. You adapt, you communicate, you figure it out. March 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic shut down the entire world. The NBA suspended its season. Everyone was stuck at home. And for the first time in LeBron's entire adult life, he couldn't leave. No games, no travel, no practice. Just LeBron, Savannah, and their 3 kids locked in their LA mansion for months. Most people thought this would be a vacation for LeBron, a chance to rest, but here's what actually happened. He realized how much he'd been missing. For 18 years, LeBron's life had been dominated by basketball. He was always traveling, always training, always preparing for the next game. He saw his kids, but he didn't really see them. He lived with Savannah, but he didn't really live with her. The pandemic forced him to stop, and in that stopping, he discovered something profound. His family was better without the distraction of basketball. Savannah later said in an interview that the pandemic was one of the best things that ever happened to their marriage. "We got to just be together," she said. No schedules, no obligations, just us. They cooked together. They watched movies. They played board games with the kids. They talked about things they never had time to talk about before. And LeBron realized something that scared him. He'd been taking Savannah for granted. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but he'd been so focused on his career, on his legacy, on being the king, that he'd forgotten to be a husband. The pandemic gave him a chance to course correct, and he took it. When the NBA resumed play in the Orlando bubble, a quarantined environment where players lived and competed without their families, LeBron struggled. Not because of basketball, because he missed Savannah. "I realized I need her more than she needs me," LeBron admitted in an emotional press conference during the bubble. "She's been holding this family together for 18 years while I've been chasing championships, and I don't say thank you enough." The Lakers won the championship in the bubble. LeBron dedicated the trophy to Savannah. "This is for my wife," he said with tears in his eyes. "She's sacrificed everything for me to do this. This is hers more than it's mine." July 24th, 2023. USC basketball practice. Bronny James, LeBron and Savannah's oldest son, collapsed during a workout. Cardiac arrest. An 18-year-old kid in peak physical condition, his heart just stopped beating. When LeBron got the call, he was at home with Savannah. They rushed to the hospital together. And for the next several hours, they didn't know if their son was going to survive. Let me pause here and let that sink in. LeBron James, one of the most powerful, wealthy, famous people on the planet, was completely powerless. All the money, all the fame, all the connections meant nothing. His son's life was hanging in the balance, and there was nothing he could do but wait. Savannah later said that those hours in the hospital waiting room were the worst of her life. Worse than any public scrutiny, worse than any tabloid rumor, worse than anything they'd faced together. But here's what happened in that waiting room. Their relationship crystallized. They held each other. They prayed together. They cried together. And they made promises to each other about what mattered. Not basketball, not championships, not legacy. Family, each other, their kids. Bronny survived. He'd been born with a congenital heart defect that went undetected for 18 years. The doctors caught it in time. He had surgery. He recovered. But that day changed LeBron and Savannah forever. "We realized how fragile this all is," Savannah said in a rare interview months later. "We spend so much time worrying about careers and money and what people think. And none of that matters. The only thing that matters is that we have each other." LeBron became more present after that, more intentional. He started saying, "I love you" more. He started prioritizing family dinners. He started turning down business opportunities if they took time away from home, because he'd been reminded of something he already knew but had forgotten. Savannah had been there from the beginning, through every high and every low, through the fame and the pressure and the chaos, and she'd never wavered. Let's fast forward to today. LeBron James is 39 years old, playing in his 21st NBA season. Savannah is 38. They've been together for 22 years, married for 11. And here's what their relationship looks like now. Every morning, LeBron wakes up before Savannah. He makes her coffee. He brings it to her in bed. It's a ritual he started after Bronny's cardiac arrest, and he hasn't missed a day since. They have date night every Thursday. No matter what, no games scheduled on Thursdays for this reason, no business meetings, no exceptions, just the two of them, reconnecting. Savannah still doesn't go to every game. She never has. She shows up for the important ones, but she's not courtside at every regular season game. Why? Because she has her own life, her own projects, her own identity. And LeBron respects that. He celebrates it. "She's not an accessory to my life," LeBron said recently. "She is my life. Everything I've accomplished, every trophy, every accolade, she's the reason any of it exists." But here's the most beautiful part of their story. They're still growing. Last year, Savannah went back to school. She's getting her degree in business management. At 38 years old, with 3 kids, married to LeBron James, she's sitting in college classes taking notes. Why? Because she wants to. Because she has goals that have nothing to do with being LeBron's wife. And LeBron, he's her biggest cheerleader. He helps her study. He quizzes her before exams. He's proud of her in a way that has nothing to do with his own accomplishments. That's what 22 years together looks like. It's not perfection. It's not a fairy tale. It's two people who chose each other at 16 years old and have continued to choose each other every single day since. The most important moment in LeBron and Savannah's relationship wasn't the proposal or the wedding or any of the glamorous stuff. It was that first date at Outback Steakhouse when Savannah looked at him and didn't see the chosen one. She saw LeBron, a nervous teenager from Akron who wanted to be loved for who he was, not what he was going to become. That's the foundation of everything. She loved him before the fame, before the money, before the championships. And because of that, he's never had to wonder if she's with him for the right reasons. How many of us can say that about our relationships? How many of us are loved for who we are when no one's watching? Savannah gave up a lot to be with LeBron, her privacy, her anonymity, her own dreams, in some ways. But LeBron sacrificed too. He turned down endorsement deals that would have required too much time away from family. He structured his contracts to maximize time at home. He made career decisions based on what was best for Savannah and the kids, not just what was best for his legacy. Real love isn't one person doing all the giving. It's both people constantly asking, "What can I do to make your life better?" The LeBron James who married Savannah in 2013 is not the same person who's married to her today. He's grown, he's evolved, he's become more emotionally intelligent, more present, more intentional. And Savannah has grown too. She's no longer just a cheerleader from Akron. She's a businesswoman, a philanthropist, a leader in her own right. They've grown together. They've grown individually, and they've made space for each other's growth. That's the key. You can't expect your partner to stay the same person they were when you met them. People change. The question is, are you changing together or are you changing apart? LeBron and Savannah don't air their dirty laundry. They don't do tell-all interviews about their marriage. They don't post every intimate moment on social media. They protect their relationship. They create boundaries. They decide what the world gets to see and what stays private. In an era where everyone shares everything, that discretion is powerful. It's a choice that says, this relationship is ours, not the public's, not the media's, ours. One thing that's often overlooked in their story, both LeBron and Savannah have their own support systems. LeBron has trainers, coaches, mentors, and therapists he talks to. Savannah has her own friends, her own circle, her own outlets. They don't expect each other to be everything. They don't put the entire emotional burden of their lives on each other's shoulders. That's healthy. That's sustainable. That's how you make it 22 years without burning out. LeBron James will retire from basketball eventually, maybe in 2 years, maybe in 5, but it's coming. And when he does, he and Savannah will face a transition that most couples never experience. What happens when the thing that defined your entire relationship disappears? For 22 years, basketball has been the center of their universe. It's dictated where they live, how they spend their time, who they're around. It's been the engine driving everything. And soon, that engine will shut off. Most retired athletes struggle with this transition. Their identity was so tied to their sport that when it's gone, they don't know who they are, and their marriages often suffer because of it. But here's why I think LeBron and Savannah will be different. They've been preparing for this moment for years. Savannah has built her own life, her own career, her own purpose. She's not going to be lost when LeBron retires because she was never defined by being LeBron's wife. And LeBron? He's been intentional about building a life beyond basketball, his business empire, his media company, his philanthropic work. He knows who he is without the jersey. More importantly, they know who they are together. They're not just LeBron and Savannah James, NBA superstar and his wife. They're partners. They're best friends. They're a team that's been running the same play for 22 years. And that play, it's called choose each other. Every single day. No matter what. 22 years. Two kids who had no idea what they were doing, who grew up together, who chose each other over and over again. That's not a fairy tale. That's work. That's commitment. That's love. If this story moved you, you know what to do. Subscribe for more stories that matter, and go tell your person you love them, right now. See you in the next one.